Here's a great story that I tell to all my clients and referred patients when I teach them these movements. So if you're in New York City and you're watching a very old person walking across the street and they're hunched over so that they're like this. Their back is rounded and the head is up like a turtle, and they've got a cane in front of them. So we call them a three-legged, 2 legs and then that cane. Now they go to the doctor says, well, it's spinal degeneration, or you're just old. Now, what most people don't consider is that the muscles from here down to the pelvic floor in the front are so tight. Let's say they're 95% contracted chronically when he's sleeping and when he's awake. Over time, he hasn't learned how to manage the stress reflexes in his body. He hasn't learned how to manage the functional patterns of his work or whatever injury had occurred, and it just compounded until he was hurled over like that. This man, let's say, sleeps with 9 pillows because that's how hyper contracted he is. He has to sleep with 9 pillows. So if I have him on my table, let's say, or I teach him, now his brain, if I teach him movements, the brain considers the muscles to be, let's say, 95% contracted all the time. But he's so habituated to that degree of tension that it's normal for his brain. His brain doesn't even register the tension as tight. He just knows that it's sore and painful in the front. Also, something to consider, when the muscles are tight, there's less space for the vertebrae to expand, for the rib cage to expand, so breathing gets compromised. Also, there's less space for the bladder to fill, so old age is often associated with people needing to use a restroom a lot more often. Well, part of that is because of the hypertension unmanaged in the front of the body, compressing and making the space shorter for the organs to exist, and then the bladder can't fill as much. Okay, so there's a lot of benefit to address in the muscular system because it's closing everything off. Now, to open it, here's the biomechanic. That's, again, is instinctual to animals. We don't do it instinctively, and we suffer because we don't do it. We have to learn. I didn't invent this, but I learned it, and I put it together to give it like an instinctual context, because we don't do it. We don't apply the instinct instinctually. Wild animals will do it up to 40 times a day in order to keep their muscles supple. So back to this old guy. Excuse me. So I have him on the table, let's say, or I'm coaching him. He's with his wife and he's on a floor, and he has, in order to lie on his back, he has to lie down with like 8 or 9 pillows. Okay. So again, his brain registers the tension in his front of his body at 95% tight. That's his norm. So in order to change that norm, in order to release the muscles, to get him back to start being upright, I have to take him into a contraction at, let's say, 96%. That 1% of tightening beyond where it's already tight, he'll start to feel that. He'll feel that tension. And biomechanically, when the muscles tighten, they relax a little bit more than where they were habitually tightened. So he tightens at 96, and it takes him to 93, 92, 91. And we just keep going like that. So he has to feel his ability to tighten and loosen. That's a great example. So if you're wondering if the pain is muscular, if the muscles are hyper tight, these movements will do a wonderful job. Very effective, very efficient, very gentle, very natural job at releasing that, bringing that back to zero, so that all the muscles are doing their jobs. Benefit of these planes of movement, they're doing their jobs, and we're keeping the muscles supple. So there's a good story for you. All right, talk to you soon.